Hey guys, my League of Legends main champion finally got added to Runeterra, and the whole reveal process was a little bit of a mess, but I'm finally sitting here, able to react to the official trailer, so that's what we're going to do first. I'm going to react to the trailer. After that, I'm going to give my thoughts on whether or not they fulfilled like that Pyke fantasy that he gives in League with the resets and the gold sharing and the being assassin-like. What does a Pyke main think about how they translated him into a card game? And after that, I'm going to give my thoughts on the whole lurk deck idea, like the archetype, what do I think about it? I have so many games on Rek'Sai, Pyke, and Echo, so the fact that two of my main champions go in a deck together is like a dream coming true. I'm going to give my thoughts on that. And afterwards, I still have like some of the cards that got revealed over the past couple of days that I'm going to review too, like the variety reveal and some of the sporting cards for Pyke. But first, let's jump right into this trailer.
Beast come in all shapes. I'm one of them.
Man, I love Pyke's voice. I actually really like this art. I wasn't sure about it at first, but when I saw the full art, I was like, yeah, okay, this is actually really good.
I smell panic.
Pyke's theme, ooh, so perfect.
They all sink before they...
Okay, so I realized that I didn't pause on Pyke the first time because I did see some leaks yesterday, but let's just go back. So Pyke is a 4-mana 2/3, quick attack and lurk. When I lurk, transform me into Death from Below. And he levels up when allied Pykes have dealt 15 plus damage. So it doesn't matter what Pyke does it, because obviously he jumps into the deck and comes back. So as long as Pyke, as a card, has dealt 15 plus damage, he levels up. And then let's go back to Death from Below. So Lurk fast spell, summon Pyke striking an enemy. This card is absolutely insane. This card is so good. It's like a fast speed tri-beam that you can cast during combat. I don't know what else I need to say to show you that this card is absolutely insane. I'll talk a bit more about it after the trailer. Oh man, it looks so good.
Where there's blood, there's monsters. Tide's rising.
Amazing.
Crossing one off.
There's his list. I really like all these cards that are with Pyke too, like all the fish.
So many names. I'm just getting started.
Oh my god, that's the first time I hear it in English. I got shivers from that. Oh my god, Pyke's voice when he's like hyped. Coolest thing ever, and that animation. And he gets a new animation for the Bone Skewer too. He does like a little swing. Oh man, this is so cool.
You face a prince.
What's a prince? To an undead ghost man.
Nor will you.
Here we go.
Demacia. More names off the list.
I don't even know what to say. It's so cool. It's so amazing. So, Pyke. I think my reaction to the trailer already gives away some of my thoughts on what I think about the champion. And let me just start by saying that I think they absolutely did him justice. As a League Pyke player, like a League Pyke main, what I play Pyke for is that level 6. My highest highs are when I get resets on his ult, and they put that in the game. So I don't think they could have translated him any better for just that fact. But another thing is, when I play Pyke, I roam a lot. I mean, I'm sorry for the non-league players, but when I play bot lane, I leave my AD carry so often. That's why I'm very happy with like Ezreal and Tristana players. I roam to mid. Before I'm even level 6, I can roam top lane. I don't care. And what Pyke does is he goes invisible, and then he pops up channeling his Bone Skewer. So he comes out of nowhere. I mean, you have some indicators like the Jaws theme and stuff when he's coming. And then you literally see a ghost man appearing, ready to hook you in with his harpoon. So, you know, you're probably dead when he hits it. And the fact that Pyke turns into Death from Below is exactly that feeling in League. So they captured his coming out of nowhere or rising from the depths to like pull you back in, and his ult resetting. The only thing that's missing is his gold sharing, but honestly, I don't think that's a big enough part, and that's going to be very hard to translate into game as well. So from a flavor standpoint, I think they captured everything that Pyke is about. And the fact that Bone Skewer is his champion spell is actually really good too. Still have a hard time imagining how a deck like this comes together and how it's played. I figure like at some point when you're playing Lurk, you're going to have one unit and you're going to hope it's either Pyke or Rek'Sai, and you're going to keep shuffling them to the top of your deck. Like you constantly want Rek'Sai on top of your deck to get +2 from Lurk. You constantly want Pyke on top of your deck while you Lurk so you can get death from below. Those seem to be the two payoff cards, and honestly, I am quite happy about it. It's really good. The cards that let you pick a card from in your hand to put it back into your deck or put it back on top of your deck is also just is a great addition to decks like this. You want to use that on Pyke and Rek'Sai as often as you can. Because Rek'Sai, you don't want to have a Rek'Sai in your hand unless he has 10 attack and is ready to level. And you don't want Pyke in your hand unless he is drawn as the spell. And like I said during the trailer, when you have that spell, it's absolutely insane. This Death from Below is such a ridiculously strong card. It might be one of the strongest things I've seen in Runeterra so far as like just one piece. Using a 4-mana fast speed spell to summon an ally and striking something for his attack power. And Pyke is growing big because of Lurk. Like you could look at him and say, okay, a 4-mana 2/3, that's pretty understated. But with Lurk on turn 4, this could be a 5/3. Striking something for 5 and then summoning a unit at fast speed during combat, like denying your opponent, is kind of ridiculous. And then the fact that he has quick attack is not very thematic, but I think it's fine because it has so much synergy with the vulnerable stuff. I think it was kind of necessary to give him quick attack. I don't think he would function nearly as well, or he wouldn't be nearly as powerful as he seems here without quick attack. So what do I think about a Lurk deck? I think Lurk decks are actually very well done. I still don't know how strong they're going to be. I know that Pyke as a piece is very strong. I think Rek'Sai is going to be a very powerful piece too. What I like is that Rek'Sai is more of this like pack leader. Like Rek'Sai goes in, and then once he levels, he gives you like more lurker units. It's like he's more like this leader kind of. He's like lurking and seeing how everybody hits the opponent and lurks for them, and then eventually she comes out herself to like just slam. Pyke, however, is more of the assassin type who just kills everything and just doesn't care. He only wants to like cross names off his list, and he's going to be pretty effective at that, I think, with Death from Below and that effect where he kills an enemy, or when he kills an enemy, that he strikes the weakest enemy and just goes off on a chain. I can tell you right now, this is going to be my day 1 deck, and it might be my day 2, day 3, until day 500 deck too. So well done, and I'm very happy with how they translated him. If there's one thing I'm a little bit disappointed about, is that it seems that Pyke will most likely only be playable in Lurk decks. And you can make an argument for like hand buffing him or buffing him in deck to give him more attack so he can actually level, but you really want that spell. Like Death from Below is what makes him so stupidly strong, I think. So when I have to answer the question, will Pyke make Bilgewater great again? I think he is going to provide a very playable Bilgewater deck, but I don't think he's going to give like that flexibility that Bilgewater needed to have more playable decks like Plunder, some Twisted Fate Nab stuff maybe. He's not going to fit there very well. I think it will be playable though with some of the lure cards that are in Bilgewater right now. Like maybe you could play a Bilgewater Targon deck even with Pyke, lure cards, and I don't know, like Destiny's Call. Who's to say? But it's not going to be nearly as effective as with Shurima and Rek'Sai. So yeah, on one side I'm disappointed, but on the other side I'm very happy that Bilgewater gets an amazing deck like this that looks just so cool. And yeah, it's going to be a bit comparable to Deep, where with Deep you just put in every Toss and Sea Monster card. With Lurk you put in every Lurk card. And then we do have a few more cards that got released that I'm going to look at as well. And the first card here is the Jawfish. An 8-mana 2/7. Play each Lurker ally strikes a random enemy. And I am so happy that this card exists. Not only is it an expensive card for Bilgewater that seems very playable in Lurk decks, I'm also just waiting for Bilgewater to get some actual late game bombs that have a stupidly strong effect. Because I'm kind of tired of the Pharaons where you just drop like an 8-mana 8/8 and you get to Decimate and it's like, well, job's done. I'm just going to cast those at some point and, you know, there's no cool effect or anything. With Jawfish though, you get an insanely cool effect, and the Jawfish is not going to end the game all by itself. You need a board of Lurker allies for that. So in a Lurk deck, this is going to be a very, very powerful tool, but it also means the deck has to slow down, which makes it more of a mid-range type deck. And I really, really like that because I don't want Lurk to be an aggro deck where you just drop like your early Lurk units and you just go phase until they're big enough to end the game, and it's just boring. With Jawfish, you're going to have to play the lurk deck the way it's intended to much more. You're going to have to shuffle your Rex size back onto the top of your deck. You're going to have to shuffle your Pikes on top of your deck. You're going to have to get those Snap Jaw Swarms to proc lurk more efficiently. And when you do that, it feels much more like you're playing a lurk deck and not like you're playing some aggro deck. This pushes it much more into the direction of mid-range. The fact that Jawfish as a card by itself is so powerful that it can make it do that is super cool. Also, don't forget, don't look at these cards and be like, oh, it's an 8 mana 2/7. No, this is like an 8 mana 10/7 at turn 8. Like, this thing will grow pretty big. When it strikes a random enemy, it's most likely going to kill it because of the stats. And then we have a 4 mana 3/2 elite from Demacia, Swiftwing Flight. Challenger, play, create a Fleet Feather Tracker, Blinding Assault, or Silverwing Vanguard in hand. Attack, give other challenging allies +1/+1 this round. I really like this. Like, I love the whole bird thing that Demacia is going on with all the 2/1 birds. This is like a really funny, like, build around tool kind of for that. I don't think it's that good because the 4 mana slot is pretty contested in Demacia, but the fact that it's an elite and it creates another card in hand and has like this challenger synergy might actually be pretty relevant. I'm not sure what kind of deck you'd play this in though. I mean, you'd play this in an elite deck, I guess. Like Silverwing Vanguard is an elite. There's a lot of flexibility here, but I still think this will only go in elite decks and contest the Bannerman slot. I'm not sure. I know this is a card I'm very excited to try, but I have a hard time seeing how good it will be. It doesn't give itself +1/+1 either when it's attacking. So a 3/2 Challenger is not really that good. It can pick off something small. Anyway, it's a cool card. I just don't know how it's going to be playable. Then there's a 7 mana 8/6 Sacred Protector from Ionia. Allies with barrier have double attack. Play, draw a Shen. So we got the Shen boat. Everybody was asking for a Yasuo boat, like a Yasuo tutor. Instead, we get one for Shen. And I think this card is very cool. And it could see play as like a one-off in some decks. But I think this attack or this effect is not very useful. Because with double attack, you really want to attack in like an area or like an attack spot where nobody's defending it. But barrier is more like you really want to have blockers so you get the value from the barrier. So it's like it's a very aggressive keyword that wants to go face with double attack, and it's a very trade-oriented keyword in barrier. So it's a little bit strange. I'm not really sure what to think about that. It has very good stats though, like an 8/6 for 7 is extremely powerful. Drawing a Shen is also always good. It's just, it feels a little out of place, you know? So first, the Redfin Hammer Snout. Play, grant an enemy vulnerable. Also, I'm probably gonna upload this for YouTube, so I gotta say real fast that we have seen the Pike leaks, but not the actual Pike reveal officially, so we don't know if there's any more cards that are coming. But from what we know so far is that this seems like an insane card with Pike because he has quick attack. Granting an enemy vulnerable on a 2 mana 1/2 is incredible. We have the 2 mana 2/3 that gives vulnerable to the strongest enemy. That was considered a pretty good card. I didn't really see any play because it was pretty inconsistent. But this, you grant it to an enemy of your choice, and it has lurk, so it can grow. This is just a perfect card for Pike. Pike is only a spell if you lurk. Yeah, that's true. So you need to really play a lurk deck for Pike. Like, Pike becomes insane when he's a spell. Being able to summon a champion at fast speed while he strikes something is stupidly strong. Targon Pike, yeah, I'm ready for that. Starlit Seer Pike, yeah. Those are all, like, I could see, like, meme decks with that. That's actually pretty cool. So what I'm trying to say with this card is that if you want to go outside of Shurima, it might be possible if you're able to buff Pike with more than just this. The problem is that you won't really be able to make him a spell reliably unless you're in Shurima too, because Shurima has so many lure cards. And then, okay, so people are pretty iffy about Bloodbait, but I think this card is actually really good. If you are attacking on evens, you can play this card to like ensure that you get the lurk. So you're attacking, you play this card, you get lurk, and then next time when you're defending, you get the Snapjaw Swarm, and you get the free attack, and well, you're most likely gonna lurk again. So that's +2 lurk. I think this card is better than people give it credit for. It does kind of, like, I don't know how awkward it is to like dilute your draws like that kind of, because you're telling your deck like, hey, this is what you're gonna draw next. And that could get pretty weird. But for a 1 mana burst spell that guarantees that you lurk when you attack, I think it's pretty good. And then the list. I think this is a very strong card, but like right now, I don't know how playable it is. It doesn't have lurk, so that makes it a little bit inconsistent. Grant an enemy vulnerable. If it's already vulnerable, the strongest ally starts a free attack. I think starting a free attack on something is obviously super powerful. The problem is that even with Pike, you don't guarantee that, like, the strongest ally starts a free attack. You can never guarantee that that's Pike. It's good though, because the Shurima cards often have over, so this can also push a lot of damage. I find this card really hard to evaluate. The fact that it's a 0 mana slow speed spell is really good. But I think you want it for the second effect, where you start the free attack, and not necessarily for the 0 mana vulnerable. I think it's also really important to consider that Bilgewater and Shurima need to find some good card draw, and I don't think pick a card is good enough. So I don't know what other draw cards you could play. Maybe a Preservarium, but all those cards start feeling really awkward because they're not lurk. The 1 mana vulnerable card, yeah, like Ye Been Warned. I don't think it's good enough. There need to be good ways to draw. Drawing is the problem right now. When Azirelia got released, they got the Dancing Droplet. And Dancing Droplet was actually like all the card draw they needed. They can completely go off with that card sometimes. It's kind of insane. If lurk decks get something like that, where they can sometimes draw a lot of cards if they don't get like the hand they want, the deck's going to be very competitive. Ripper's Bay, 1 mana landmark. When allies attack, discard the top card of your deck. If it doesn't have lurk. Oh, if it doesn't have lurk. I said that sentence in a weird way. But yeah. If it doesn't have lurk, you discard. I think this was rewarded on the official card and it obliterates instead of discarding. Also, I think it's kind of stupid that Bilgewater now has 2 landmarks and one is just for deep decks and the other is just for lurk decks, it seems. I don't think this card will make the cut. It works for deep too, yeah. But it doesn't toss, so you can get rid of your champions. I don't know if this makes the cut. I don't think it does. I think if you want to draw units to actually attack for lurk, I think this is too awkward. You can also not really protect your units very well. Sorry to hear about no Pyke. Yeah, what a shame. Talia lurk. Rek'Sai is the only way to refill your hand in a lurk deck. That's a good point. That's actually a very strong refill though. Yeah, there needs to be some draw. I think that's the main issue. Like, you're playing so many cheap units, you need to completely swarm your opponent and hope they don't have an answer. But that's pretty unreliable. If it had draw, it would be too insane. I mean, we are in Bilgewater, and Shurima has some pretty good draw too. It's not impossible that some cards get tagged. I just don't know how good it's going to be if you play too many cards that don't have lurk. Like a draw card that has lurk would be insane. But it's really all about putting units on top of your deck and then drawing them again. Maybe it doesn't even matter. Maybe you literally just want to play like Bone Skewer. You want to play that Shurima card that lets you put a card on top of your deck and then draw or get 2 random lurker allies. Maybe that's just enough. I think the fact that you get RNG lurkers is actually totally fine. These are going to be some big attack units. And then there's the Sharkling, and this card is insane too. This card is so strong. It's a 1 mana 1/2 that will often be a 2/2 on attack and then keeps growing. Lurk Enabler, strong turn 1 play. It's just crazy good card. The one thing that worries me the most, or I don't know if it worries me the most, but one of my bigger worries is that Lurk is going to feel super bad if you miss Lurk on turn 1 or 2 if you're attacking. Like the first and second time you're attacking and you miss Lurk, you're missing so much potential damage. And I don't know how much that's going to matter in a lurk deck. Imagine if you could have 2 champs and a spell that summons Pike. Yeah. A way to put Pike on top of your deck would just be crazy. Lurk doesn't have draw? No. If they did, it'd be pretty damn strong. So, field promotion. This card is busted. This card is completely insane. But it's not as insane as some people are making it out to be. Field promotion Katarina. I was thinking field promotion Teemo or field promotion Zed. Like those are like the really good ones. But here's the issue, right? Like, as insane as this card is, there's a few things that are holding it back. The first one, the most obvious one, is that you have to play the card and then the next unit you play gets scout. So that means that on something like Taric, you can't just give Taric this card and then whatever he supports gets scout. That doesn't work. You're pre-committing the mana. So you pre-commit, you play the unit, which makes like the mana investment that you lose a lot worse if the unit instantly gets removed. But if you play this, you play Fiora and you have a Chain Vest and you're playing against like spiders, you can attack twice with Fiora, yeah, and level her up. That's very strong. Also, I think the elite part is pretty irrelevant most of the time. So I don't really have anything to say about that. I think the elite thing is like, yeah, it's cute if you're playing an elite deck. You're granting it to like your splash. Like, I could see a 37 Demacia deck with 3 Zeds, and then giving elite to Zed might actually matter. Fiora doesn't need this card. No, she doesn't. I was just saying. So the second part that holds this card back, I think, is a lot less obvious. And that's that it's in Demacia. And that sounds weird, but the fact that it's in Demacia is a really big deal. Because Demacia is a really bad region to splash, unless you're playing a very specific deck. For example, Noxus, Targon, Piltover are fantastic splash regions. Like, you could play Piltover just for the 3 of Mystic Shot, and I don't know, like whatever else you're trying to do. Demacia doesn't really have any great splash cards unless you want like single combat because you're playing dragons, or if you want sharp sight. So that makes this card a lot worse just because it's in Demacia. Another thing is that you should look at cards that are already in Demacia that would like Scout. So I'm thinking Shyvana. Like the card that I thought this is the insanest with is Shyvana. I haven't seen anyone mention Shyvana, but this seems perfect for Shyvana. Like, you can actually play an elite deck now with Shyvana. Or Screeching Dragon, yeah. Exactly. It's like, I think this card would already be really, well, not really good, but it would be pretty good in Dragon decks. So the two things that are holding it back is you have to play the card and then summon a unit, and the fact it's in Demacia. It shouldn't matter, but you have to realize that this card will most likely make a few Demacia decks stronger, rather than spawning new archetypes to give units Scout, because Demacia is just a terrible splash region. So, when I look at this card, I think Shyvana. J4 Scout to have a free rally each turn. Wait, with Cataclysm? Wait, that's actually... That's pretty good. With a leveled Jarvan, you can get a free rally every turn. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, that's strong. I could see this going in an Elite deck. And then suddenly, instead of playing bad units in Elite decks, you can just go Screeching Dragon and Shyvana. And then sometimes you give them Scout. And sometimes that will win you the game, honestly. J4 Scout with maybe Shyvana is what I'm seeing here. But let's be honest, just the fact that you can give this to Teemo is just hilarious for memes, and that's what I'm gonna be playing. Riven Scout, yeah, Riven Scout too, but I don't think it matters. Bitterful, thank you so much for that Prime sub. 3 months. Welcome back. Thank you so much. I think this is not. I don't think you want to play this card on Riven, by the way, because Riven already works when you're attacking with her, or when you're attacking with Scouts and you have Riven like behind you. Then she also gives Blade Fragments. So yeah, it's pretty good, but it's not necessary. Lulu and Scouts. I was thinking about that too, like Lulu with Valor is pretty spicy. Finally, Scout Sai Scout. Scout Sai Scout, yeah, that's the one. Finally, the prophecy has been fulfilled. Mono Fizz. Oh wait, this card with Fizz is pretty funny too, actually. It kind of sucks that you have to play this beforehand though, so you don't trigger Fizz's elusive with this, but that's a thing. Yeah, that's maybe Renekton. Yeah, Renekton could work too. That's actually a good point, because I was saying like that elite deck that has like vulnerable synergy with one splash, but you could easily splash Renekton now, depending on how you build the deck. Renekton being an elite and a scout, pretty relevant. Can't you buff stuff with black? Yeah, if you have a blacksmith on the board and you play this card and then the elite, I'm gonna assume it gets +1/+1. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. The wording is so that you can play it and summon Jarvan attacking with it, but Jarvan already does that, right? Jarvan already gets pulled on a scout attack. Ashe, yeah, Ashe is really interesting too. There have been some Ashe decks with Cataclysm and with Field Promotion that could get pretty spicy. Scout Kyrian, oh god, you're right. Scout Kyrian, that's like 10 damage. Alright, Fable Poro. 4 mana 2/5, when I'm summoned, grant all ally Poros a random keyword. So I think in Poro decks, you actually no longer run Braum because of this card. It's a 4-drop. And Braum has never been that good in Poro decks. Like, I never really saw the point of Braum in Poro decks necessarily. The only thing he does is summon 1/3/3. But you could just put that in your deck. I think this card is good. But the problem is, if you don't have any Poro snacks, you're just giving your 1/1s a keyword. And how good has that proven to be? I find this card really hard to evaluate. I think it will definitely make Poro decks stronger. But Poros are already really about, well, snowballing. No pun intended, because they're from Freljord. But they're really about having a board and then buffing it slowly. So it's like it helps them be better at something they're already supposed to be good at to win a game. Which is kind of my issue. But I think it's good. I think it's not always like a card you drop on 4, which Braum is. So it looks good, but it doesn't look like it's going to carry Poro to the next level to me. How good are cards that grant have random keywords? They're okay. I don't think we've seen anything board-wide unless you can't give it all. If you keep on summoning it with SI, you can make mini victories. It's to buff Heart of the Fluff. I think Heart of the Fluff is such a meme card. Like, the only reason Heart of the Fluff works is if you give it Spell Shield somehow. Otherwise, it's not consistent. And if you run Piltover and Freljord, you need that Spell Shield. Like, I don't know if anyone saw that video that I uploaded today. I had a match against a Poro deck, and they played their patch Poro bot, and one of them got Spell Shield, and then another one, a lonely Poro, got the elusive Poro. I lost because he high rolled 2 Poros. I was like, yeah, okay. I mean, I kind of sabotaged myself too, because I had 2 Stony Suppressors. I would have been able to pop the Spell Shield when I had 3 mana left with the Stun 2 card, and then I could have used the Ground Slam next turn. So I did kind of, you know, grief myself there. But yeah, he kind of pulled the perfect cards for that. So I think this card is good, but I don't know how much better it's going to make Poro decks. I think if Poro decks get consistency, this card will definitely make them a lot better. But it's just going to help with something that if Poro decks do that, like building a board, keeping Poros alive, they're usually going to win because you keep buffing them up and generating value. With this, you're just winning more. So I'm skeptical. But it's a very cool card. It's fantastic that it's like a little Ornn. I love it. I'm glad it exists. Just don't know about its viability. And then we have this big boy that has just an insane amount of applications for Yeti decks. I think Yeti decks are going to be a real thing with this card. I'm pretty sure everybody has already said that this card is going to make Yetis viable. And I hard agree. You're going to be playing the Yeti Yearling because of this card. Just think about it like skip turn 1, turn 2. Okay, you're attacking on odds. Turn 2, you play 2 Yeti Yearlings, and you have 3 of these big boys in your hand. That's so nasty. You're going to be forced to remove Yeti Yearlings because of this card. Unless you high roll on turn 3, turn 4, it will be pretty bad. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's a lot worse than it is on turn 3, 4, or 5, but it's still pretty good to just summon this from your hand without paying for it. You don't lose an action is the most important thing. Like, Yetis are going to want to... They're going to want to play mid-range. Summoning a unit without requiring an action is a big deal. Just stats without keywords are pretty bad. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see something like Pack Mentality see play because of Yetis. If there's going to be a way to consistently get a board full of Yetis, which this card might do, like, we don't know what a refined Yeti deck really looks like yet. It's a free... No, it doesn't, like... It's play. So when it gets summoned from your hand, it doesn't draw the Yeti, is what I'm assuming. But, yeah. Another nasty thing, okay, is... Okay, listen. Turn 0, you're attacking on odds. Turn 1, you do nothing. Turn 2, 2 Yeti Yearlings. Turn 3, you play Lysandra, and you have 2 of these boys in your hand. You have a leveled Lysandra on turn 3. How is that okay? This card is making Ionia viable. It certainly is. Him and his Yeti decks. Iterative Abominable. Yeah. Turn 4, Watcher. Whew. I don't know about this one. You can iterative and summon it instantly. No, it's round end. You can't summon it instantly. Round start is before or after the draw. If you top deck Abominable, will it be summoned? I think round start is before the draw. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had an instance where that mattered. So I think it's before the draw. So in short, I think this card is insane. I mean, as a card, it's insane. I don't know if the deck is going to be played in is insane too. But I would imagine that there's going to be a lot of experimentation with Yeti decks. And once they get refined, this card is going to be a centerpiece. And it's going to be one of the reasons why it works. Alright, Defiant Dance. So I think this card is not as bad as it seems. It's still like, yeah, it's slow speed. But it might see like play as a one-of in a Zerelia decks. I mean, they're probably going to get nerfed. I don't think it's as bad as it seems, but it's also not very good. The fact it's slow speed is just awful. Yeah, it is basically a slow Will of Ionia. The reason why Will of Ionia was so strong is because it was fast speed. Your opponent would attack, and then you'd will during their attack. Yeah, like you'd recall their strongest unit. It doesn't compete with Homecoming. No, these cards are completely different in how they're used. You can't compare this to any other recall effect, really. Why is Will not play anymore? Because it got nerfed to 5 mana. It's also pretty meta reliant, and a lot of decks actually like just spam really small units. Metas right now are more about going wide with small units rather than it is to go big with one unit. It's like the biggest unit, okay? There are 2 really big units in this meta. And okay, listen. The 2 biggest units in this meta, number 1 is Watcher, 0 mana. Number 2, Sparring Student, 1 mana. Those are the biggest units that see play, and if you use Will, you're going to spend 5 mana on a 1 cost or a 0 cost. The value isn't there. So that's probably why Will isn't played anymore. But this is more, you play this for the Blade Dance and getting rid of like 1 unit. This card is really good if you can play it on a Radiant Guardian. So I think it's not good, but it's also not terrible. This list has some of the coolest cards I've ever seen too. Starlit Epiphany is such a cool card. It's completely meme, but I love that they printed a card like this. Like I tweeted yesterday, if Watcher doesn't get nerfed, I'm gonna put this in every single one of my Targon decks. Like at least one copy. If anyone played Hearthstone during Journey to Ungoro, they had this card that replaced your entire deck with a 1-mana spell that read like discover 1 Journey to Ungoro card or something. That's basically this, except, you know, Celestials. Field Promotion, more like Sunny's Promotion. It got Sunny's keywords. Yeah. I've been asking for a Grand Scout card, and we finally got it. It's a little more awkward to use, though, because you have to summon a unit afterward. Makes it pretty fair. But yeah, it is insanely strong. If you reduce Celestial card cost, it can be viable. This card with Victor, this card with the Allegiance guy, the Mountain Scryer, is ridiculously strong. It's so good. Like, if you have a Victor on board and a Mountain Scryer, your Invokes are going to cost 1, and your Celestials are going to cost 2 less. I mean, yeah, this card is never going to see any serious play. It is nice that it invokes, though, because you're playing a 3-mana burst spell to do, like, nothing until the next turn, but you are also at least invoking. And it's a wide invoke. It's not limited to, like, invoke a 1, 2, 3 cost, a 4, 5, 6. No, it's like Mountain Cry. It's like, invoke anything. This is strong, but it's not going to see serious play. But I would not be surprised if I'm completely wrong about that. In some Targon decks, you actually do run out of steam. If you can play a Behold the Infinite every turn, you're going to be summoning bombs every single turn. So, meme card, but not as meme as it seems. It could see some serious play, as like a 1-off or 2-off in some decks. Invokes are not created, though. I mean, you're creating Behold the Infinites, so they do get discounted by Victor. Like, the Behold the Infinite card is normally 2 mana. With Victor, it's 1 mana. And then the Celestials that you create are going to be 1 mana less too. I predicted Ruin Sunny, just not in the right way. Look at that. Oh yeah, I'll get to this one. I actually really like this card. Okay. Heavens Aligned. 1 mana focus, Daybreak, create a random Nightfall card in hand. Nightfall, create a random Daybreak card in hand. This is just a pretty good enabler for Nightfall. But I do like that if you have a Ravoon in the card, you're getting both effects. So you're creating a random Daybreak and Nightfall card. I think this is a pretty cute card. I don't know how happy you're going to be actually drawing this, like later in the game, but you're still getting 1 random card, and most of them are honestly pretty good. Most Nightfall cards are actually not that good unless you get like an Eclipse Dragon or the Lunari Priestess, but all Daybreak cards can be pretty chunky units. I think this might see play in Nightfall decks as a 2 or 3 off even. Doombeast? Yeah, Doombeast is pretty good to get to, yeah. What I don't like is that if you're using this as Daybreak, you get the Nightfall effect, and you can activate the Nightfall instantly. If you're using this as Nightfall, you can never activate the Daybreak unless you have Ravoon. So this feels kind of like off. I just got a spicy idea. Zevi with the star. Oh, wait, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's not bad. Wow. Because the Celestials are not going to be fleeting anymore. No, it's only followers. You can't create champions unless it specifies. Yeah, I don't think you play this in a Daybreak deck, but I think you do play it in Nightfall decks as an activator. I mean, there aren't really any Daybreak decks anyway, so that might be why. Immobility. Yeah, it's never. You cannot create champions unless it specifically says it does. It might pair well with Ravoon. Yeah, I think so too. That's the only thing you would play it in for Daybreak decks, so you can combo it with Ravoon. All right, the biggest, coolest card they might release in a while. Atakhan, Bringer of Ruin, 10 mana 5/2 Overwhelm. Attack increase my power by the total power of all allies. Can't the new 3 mana Curious spell create champions? Yeah, but it's because you're predicting them. So, yeah, this card is not good, but it is super cool. Is this like I don't know. Okay, when I saw this card, I'm like, okay, this is really cool. I would love to play a deck with this, but I want to know what the lore is behind this. Like, look at this boy. That's like, isn't he like just looks amazing? Like the whole artwork and everything. I want to know what this card is for Noxus. Is this like some ancient thing that Noxus gets their strength from? Why 10 mana? It feels like an 8 mana effect. On 8 mana, you're going to end the game with this card if it survives. I don't like that people are saying Spectral Matron, by the way. Spectral Matron already annoys me. And it's pretty bad too. Summoning this with Spectral Matron. Alright, I'm going to search for the lore after stream probably. because it looks insane. The thing with Spectral Matron is, yeah, you're like, if this attacks with just a Spectral Matron, it's like what, 16-12? It's 16-12, right? That's a lot of power. But if this gets stunned, if it like gets hit by something like a single combat, it just disappears. With Citria, you're buffing up your entire board, which is why it's good. Hecarim plus Matron plus Atakhan. Yeah, okay, I can see that. Like with Hecarim, it's pretty good. That's a lot of power. The 7-mana card that heals your... Okay, see, now we're talking. That's much better. The troll thing. I forgot the name of it. But the 7-mana slow speed from Freljord. See, that's cool. That's actually pretty cool. You know what? I want to play a Trundle combat deck with like all the trolls that give Overwhelm and Regen. And then we pair it with Noxus. We play this card. We play the Rally card because it starts at 8. And it's not really going to become 6 mana. So you have like all the activators for the trolls. Doesn't this sound like an insane late game bomb? Sometimes you're reducing the cost with Revitalizing Roar. Yeah, that's the one. And then you heal for 10. And you get a 0 mana Atakhan. This would... Okay, see, that's another cool combo. Vault of Helia. Yeah, that's cool. I don't think it works with Callista. Yeah, I don't know how that works with the attack either. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, it heals for the attack. Yeah, so you heal for 5. Yeah, my bad. It heals for 5. But still, getting this at 0 mana is pretty good. I actually don't think you run Revitalizing Roar in a deck like this, but it's a cool idea. Can Heavens and Line make Diana and Leona work together? Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. I think Leona-Diana deck makes a lot more sense after this card. It's probably like an Allegiance deck. It's just a buff to 10 damage Tri-Beam. Finally. That's what we've been waiting for. Yeah, it's a cool card, but it's not going to see competitive play. No, not even in a ramp deck, I think. Okay, Thorn Blade. Give an ally +5/+0 this round for 4 mana burst. A lot of people are saying this card is terrible, and it's not nearly as terrible as people think it is. People are comparing this to Elixir of Wrath. It's like 1 mana +3 attack, and then this is a 4 mana +5 attack. But that's a big difference. 2 attack makes a lot of difference in ending game, because at that point, if you use this on an Overwhelm unit, that might actually make the difference. If you play this on Riven, it's +10. It's way too shallow to look at this like, oh, but you know, you're paying 3 more mana for +2 attack. But in Runeterra, those like small increases in attack where you only have 20 health, that's a big deal. This could be 25% of your Nexus health. It's a Riven card? Yeah, basically. I don't think it's like a card you're going to be super happy main decking, but I don't think it's that bad either. Thorn Blades saves Bloody Business after Frostbite. That's another really good point. Yeah. If you're trying to Bloody Business, they deny you, you play Thorn Blade, and you can still get your Bloody Business in. For 4 mana, yeah, it's not... It sucks that it's 4 mana, I know. I wouldn't be surprised if a card like this was 3 mana in testing, and they were like, no, wait, this is way too broken. And then they put it to 4. +5 attack is a lot of stats, guys. Like, I know I'm like... it's copium. It's still not a good card, but it's not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. This card just has the... It has the chance to blow games out, and that's what makes it scary. Like, you guys saw me play that Predict game with Kahiri, and the guy played like the +4 attack on Rune Runner, and it basically won him the game. At 3 mana, this would be incredibly broken. Like, no cap. At 3 mana, everybody would play this in Noxus Overwhelm decks. What was that other deck we had? We had the Riven Draven decks. The Riven Draven OTK with Flurry of Fists. If you play this card on an Overwhelm unit with Flurry of Fists, that's 10. You got to think about the combo potential here. All right. I'm going to go next. I think it's a pretty good card. I don't think it's fantastic, but it's better than the Fury of Fist card. All right. Astral Fox. 4 mana 3/3 fearsome. Play, kill an ally to deal 3 to the enemy nexus. I think a lot of people are saying that Astral Fox is insane, and I think it's just pretty good. I think it's a good card. I don't think it's insane. I think it's going to be really good in those Shadow Isle burn decks. It makes a lot of sense there. But I really don't think this card is going to break any archetypes. Maybe it's because I play decks that like can deal with this pretty easily, like Deny It. But I don't know. It doesn't feel that good to me. I would not be surprised to be proven completely wrong. What I think is interesting is the, what's the card called? The Imperial Demolitionist that hits something for 1 and then deals 2 to the enemy nexus, right? You want to use that on pretty healthy targets. This you want to use on really small targets because you're going to be killing them. I kind of like that. It's like a nice little contrast there. But I think it's pretty easy to deny. I'm actually excited for this to burn my opponent's face off. Yeah, it's going to be good in burn decks, but I I just have a hard time seeing it, you know? In spiders, yeah, this might be pretty good. If you use it on small targets, enemy can answer easily. Exactly. Like, I think this card, the decks it goes into, the cards that are good against those type of decks are only going to be better against those type of decks because of Astral Fox. And the decks that we're going to lose against spiders anyway are going to lose even harder because of this card. You don't want to play an aggro deck. I mean, you could see this as a finisher for spider decks. I could see that. Spider decks, I mean, I don't play many spider decks, but spiders have this, like, I'm going to play units to overwhelm you early game. Oh my god, overwhelm is a poor choice of words. I'm going to play spiders early to have a board and push as much damage as possible. And then when I run out of units, I'm going to play my burn spells, right? This card is like a mix of those two. And that's a pretty scary prospect. Swarm, that's the word. Yeah, spiders like to swarm early and then use burn spells. This does like both. I can only see it in burn decks. Yeah, me too. But spider is like, has some burn aspects. So I think this card is being overrated a little bit, but it's still not a bad card. It's just going to be a nice little addition to some burn decks, but it's not going to suddenly push them over the top. Just like a more situational fervor. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's a worse fervor, I think. I love the name of this, by the way. Symmetry in Stars. How cool is that? All right, the Twisted Treeline. 3-mana landmark. Once I've seen 3 fearsome allies attack, destroy me to summon Valma. This is a really weird card, but this does not go in spider decks. I think there's no way this goes in spider decks. This has to go into like Callista, fearsome decks with Shurima maybe. Is Valma new? No, Valma already exists as a card. You have this 3-mana slow spell that you can only cast if 3 allies died this round. I think this is definitely a lot better than that. Yeah, 6/6 fearsome. So I mean, what do you have to do to make this insane? Like, you play a Precious Pet on turn 1, you play Elise on turn 2. You play this on 3, you attack with 2 fearsomes, and then you only need to attack with 1 more to proc this. Kindred with Astral Fox, yeah, that's pretty good. I don't think this really does something that Kindred is happy about. Kindred doesn't really care about dealing 3 to the enemy nexus. You can attack with this at turn 6. Wait, really? No, there's no way. You can attack with this on like turn 4 or 5. This is not that bad, guys. You could play this landmark on turn 3, and then attack with the fearsomes. And then it's already like 2 out of 3 usually. Yeah, I could totally see this in a Mistwraith deck. Mistwraith makes a lot of sense for this card. Yeah, I could see this play in a Mistwraith deck. I think a deck like that would be pretty happy about a landmark and then getting a 6/6. Like, that's pretty strong for like... Actually, is that strong? Wait, does that mess up like your Harrowing? I don't play those Callista decks with Mistwraith, but when you play Harrowing in that deck, do you just want to resummon the Mistcallers? The 4-mana 4/3 that summons a Mistwraith? Or do you just want as big units as possible? I'm not actually sure. But I think this is going to see some experimentation. I think ultimately the Twisted Treeline isn't going to hit any decks. But I think for decks that are trying to take a slightly different, maybe slower approach, it's not really that bad. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Shadow Owl Shurima fearsome deck at some point. And I think this card would actually make sense in those type of decks. I think the Shurima decks are a little slower when you have like the Raz Bloodmane. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. The 7-mana 6/6 that gives like minus attack to everything attacking. That's pretty slow for a fearsome deck, but it's a really good card for those type of decks. They stole my idea of a landmark that someone's... I saw that, damn you. Yeah, you were first. Or you're just an undercover agent for Riot. Yeah, I missed the Twisted Treeline too. I really like how thematic it is for a Treeline. How long has Treeline been gone even? It feels like it's been like 5 years already. Alright, I think that about covers it.